So I wanted to mention something because I think it's really important. It's all the new fear mongers. I know I've made some people upset because I don't support this, but I also don't like the fear mongering going on with it. It's really heavy duty fear mongering, and the Bible talks. I'm not saying I support it and none of that, but the fear mongering around it and the constant 24/7, and it's even starting to make it onto your mainstream. It's like you have to wonder how much of it is. I don't know. I'm sure there's some truth to it, but are they going overboard because that fear is what they always want to push? There's a whole sect that it's been around for decades that they're profiters off of the apocalypse. They are. It's always the apocalypse, no matter what generation. And so buy this backpack. Even our own government did this after 9/11. I even bought a backpack with like those military meals or whatever because, to have it in case the next attack, because they terrorized everybody with 9/11 and then the anthrax attacks. They really terrorized people. Back then, there was people that were duct taping their windows with like cellophane, like to where there was no air in the house. Yeah, so that's going way back then. You think that the virus was bad, which it was bad, but this is all to terrorize people. And so all the fear mongering around this, and when I see it seep into the mainstream, that's when I start questioning it. I do, because I really think that's all designed, and I see it happening to people. It's conditioning people that it's Trump. It's Trump's fault. It's Trump's fault. And that's exactly what it's designed to do. And so when you see it making little by little its way on the mainstream media, then you know that's what it's for. But if you've already been conditioned to, even if you were a supporter of his, but then you were conditioned to, now you hate him because of that, it's like the same people that psyoped you to begin with are psyoping you again. That's all. I don't support it. I won't take it. I haven't taken it. I don't think anybody should take any of them because the science shouldn't be trusted. Something else about the science, because as a nurse, I've read a lot of peer-reviewed stuff, and I've looked stuff up in regards to God and Jesus, and the science mocks God. They do in their papers. Anybody who knows the Bible, at least even just a little bit, what God says about those that mock him. So when the science, says, oh, we found this and we found that, it's like, well, you can kind of guess that either they're lying or that what they found is not going to be good for you. But usually it's just a lie to tell you, oh, we came upon this great discovery and you'll see it in the years to come, and it never comes because they've never cured anything. But they've brainwashed us and they've done the trickery of we're experts and we do all this good things even though we've never come up with one cure. Antibiotics put us on the map, and from there on out it's been it's been nothing but downhill because we have more diseases and more problems. So that would happen though, because God won't let people that are doing unethical things come to discoveries. People that are fear-mongering are not people that God wanted you to trust. And I think it's interesting that when Trump was in office, he went to Davos, right? And he spoke and he said, we're not going to sign on to this apocalyptic nonsense. He didn't say exactly that, but he said, we're not going to sign on to your apocalypse. And that's just like you have all your profiters, like your Alex Jones, there's so many of them out there that, yeah, they tell you some truth, but they're profiting off of your fear. There's a bunch of people write books, they're profiting off of your fear because they're apocalyptic profiters. It's interesting that it's that word profit, Profit, and yet in the Bible, profit is something very different. Yeah. So they're the false prophets, the ones that are making a profit. And Davos does this with their climate nonsense, and just pushing all this fear mongering, and a lot of this stuff I see because it's so stupid and so out of control with them. It is designed to scare you. It seems like that's the number one tactic they use. And even your not so mainstream media, but still mainstream, they're doing so much fear mongering. If you notice, they're ramping up that fear mongering even more. It's as if they know that that they're getting closer to that edge where it's like they know they have been doing something they shouldn't be doing, like fear mongering to the people, not being honest, going along with wicked people that own and run their companies, or they're following a totally different religion, which is fine. You can't, these people, the reason the Bible's gotten such a bad rap too is there's those people over, and I can't stand these people, that they shove it down your throat. People don't like that. They don't. Don't ever do that. Like, just, God will handle, but, you put the message out there, but you don't shove it down people's throats. But that put a bad kind of stain on the biblical God. But so did the Old Testament, because people weren't understanding the Old Testament and why God was so harsh. And I think the New Testament, God was showing that there's this side too. But yet you look at all these other religions and it's all about you doing what you want to do, and you're not held to any standards, or they tell you are, but it's all just, whatever you want. And it's like that, because that wicked one knows that it can pull more people in. So there's a ton of Americans that practice Buddhism, and yet there's so many different, Buddhism one day it's atheist. I mean, because I've heard Buddhist monks tell me that I've worked with, that practiced it regularly at one time, and then came into the medicine field. But they said, no, we don't believe in God. But then you read something else that will tell you they believe in God, or a creator. And the problem is that's how you know it's a false religion, because it changes to pull people in. And that's really what this time is all about. It's to either get you so afraid of that we're going to go to war, that we're going to be nuked, that everybody suddenly climate. They're all the same people, and yet Donald Trump, was at Davos and said we're not signing on to this apocalypse, and the apocalypse, the only apocalypse to Revelations in the end of the Bible is for the wicked. That's the only apocalyptic event. Like, it's not, God doesn't wipe out the earth. He has to wipe them out, like your Davos people, because if they stay in place, they will destroy the earth because of their nonsense scientists that are doing stuff they shouldn't be doing. They've gotten too much power and control between them and the military-industrial complex. So God has never said he's destroying the earth. But those apocalyptic propheters will convince you that that's what that God's coming, and it's the end of days. End of days is one of those terms. It's supposed to scare everybody. No, it's the end of the days for the wicked. That's who it's the end for. And so when Trump said that to them, I think that was basically like we're not signing on to what your apocalypse is. There's an apocalypse coming for you, people, but the people that believe in God, the people that walk a different path than all you, we're not signing on to that, because we're not included in that part of the apocalypse is only for the wicked. So all those people that continue to push the apocalypse, and even Buddhism says this, that the creator, because but see, Buddhism also has said they don't believe in God, so they just change. Anyway, I should say Falun Gong says, but Falun Gong came from Buddhism. So but they say on their website that, yes, the creator comes back and destroys everything, and everything goes to dust. So see how it's just a false religion? So that may be why there's problems, in certain countries where they practice something that's not the biblical God. And what is this world designed to do? It's to take as many people down that path where God said most people are going, which is to the bottomless pit. So it's very important to recognize the fearmongers and the apocalyptic propheters, because they're all one and the same.